Hello, I'm Mark Tallman with KASB. Thank you for joining us. As everyone knows, with people going back to school, kids returning to school, the issue of safety and health of our kids has been very important. One of the big topics that has been getting attention is the issue of vaping, e-cigarettes in our schools and among youth in Kansas. This is something the State Board of Education has been looking at. There has been a task force of state agency leaders working on this. One of those individuals is with us today. I told Jordan Roberts, I think this is the first time that someone from the Department of Health and Environment has been on a KSB program. We're glad it's her. I think you're going to see, though, that she brings a very student, youth-focused voice and a lot of energy. So, Jordan, if you want to tell us just anything about yourself very quickly, and then you've got a number of slides that we're going to share with our viewers. So I'll let you get started.
Sure. Yeah. So my name's Jordan Roberts. I am the Youth Prevention Program Manager for the state of Kansas, and I also run the statewide youth-led tobacco prevention program called Resist. So we do a lot of work on youth empowerment, youth engagement, and education, specifically around tobacco prevention and control. And the slides that I'm going to be presenting to you guys is some of the slides that I presented to the Kansas Board of Education not too long ago.
Okay. Well, let's bring those up.
All right. So first of all, it's important to get started with what these products are, what I'm talking about when I say e-cigarettes. So in the scientific realm, they call them electronic nicotine delivery systems because there's a new product on the market every week and they all look very different, right? Okay. So if we're just gonna have an umbrella term, that would be what we would call them. But I'm gonna be interchangeable. I'm gonna call them electronic cigarettes. I might call it vape because it's an interchangeable term. Okay. And specifically, the tobacco industry started calling them e-cigarettes originally and then moved over to vape to try to get this product away from cigarettes, right, to be associated with them. So the first generation cigarette is the disposable e-cigarette on the right side of the screen. This one came onto the US market in about 2007. This one was like, the lowest technology possible. You'd go buy it at your local convenience store, use it until the juice ran out or the battery ran out, and then you'd throw it away. Mm-hmm. And then we moved over to the large size, or the medium size tank devices, which is second generation. And so the biggest difference between the first generation and the second generation e-cigarette is the sheer size of the battery. So the battery is much longer, much bigger, and the battery life is longer. And these things are rechargeable. So then you don't have to dispose them. You don't have to buy a new one every time. And then another thing that's really interesting about them is that the juice that's used, the liquid nicotine juice, is refillable in these products as well. And so directly related to the size of the battery is the plume of smoke that it can, that the user can exhale from using it. So you see the large size tank devices a little bit over on the left. Those guys have very, very large batteries, right? Mm-hmm. And so the larger the battery, the bigger the battery power. And so if you ever see somebody driving down the street and there's like a cloud of smoke that comes out from somebody's car, they're probably using one of those. That's what they've got. Okay, yeah. Good to know. Yes. And then we move over to the third generation e-cigarette, which is this rechargeable one, which is the one that looks something similar like a USB flash drive. Mm-hmm. And so that one is the most popular product on the market, which is called JUUL. And so we'll talk about that one a little bit more in detail because it is so popular among young people. Okay. So what's inside of this e-cigarette aerosol? That's something that the question that we need to answer. A lot of times people think that this is water vapor. And you can't blame them because a lot of the vape industry wants to promote their product. It's water vapor, it's safe. So, but what we're actually finding inside of this aerosol, so after this liquid nicotine solution has been heated up to a high enough temperature to be vaporized, it's categorized as an aerosol. And some of the things that we find in this aerosol is nicotine, volatile organic compounds, ultrafine particles, heavy metals such as nickel, tin, and lead, cancer-causing chemicals, as well as some of these flavorings are harmful to the body, right? So diacetyl is a butter flavoring, and so it's related to a serious lung disease called popcorn lung. So, and then also cinnamon flavor also has another chemical in it that can harm the lungs as well. So not only is there nicotine in these products, but also other harmful products as well. So whenever we're talking about young people and e-cigarettes, e-cigarettes definitely pose avoidable health risks, right? The bottom line is that no amount of nicotine is safe for a young person to be using. The brain is evolving until the age of like 25 or 30, right? And so the younger you are, the more underdeveloped your brain is.
Right.
And so if you use an addictive substance at a young age, you're basically priming your brain for addiction.
Okay.
And that's why the tobacco industry targets young people so much, is because if they can get a young person's hands on their product, the younger they are, the likelihood of them using it until they die goes up, right?
Okay, sure.
And so that's why they target people under the age of 18. And some of the things that we also find is that the aerosol contains metals, and there's substantial evidence that if a young person uses an e-cigarette, the likelihood of them using a traditional tobacco product like cigarettes goes up 4 times more likely. That if a young person uses vape, they're probably going to smoke a cigarette.
So if some people might say, well, this is a safer alternative than cigarettes.
Yes.
It in fact both includes things that are harmful in and of itself, and also is often not a way of avoiding an actual cigarette, but may lead to it. Is that the conclusion?
Exactly. That is our biggest concern about these products, is that it's going to renormalize nicotine addiction among this generation that we've worked so hard to avoid, right? The amount of young people who use traditional tobacco and cigarettes is like minuscule. But now we're seeing that vape use is increasing, and that's exactly what the tobacco industry is trying to aim for.
Okay.
So here's some data about Kansas youth e-cigarette use. So the most updated data that we have is from 2017. We should be getting 2018 data in October, so stay tuned. But 34.8% of high school students have ever tried e-cigarettes, and 10.6% currently use e-cigarettes. And so whenever I present this information in front of young people, specifically like in the past year, they're like, oh no, that's got to be higher. Mm-hmm. I like majority of my friends do use this product. So we have a feeling that our 2018 data might reflect that, but we'll see here shortly. Some more information, some qualitative information that we got reported back from the Kansas Youth Risk Behavior Survey was some reasons why young people use e-cigarettes. And so 38.2% reported that they use because a friend or a family member uses. Mm-hmm. And that kind of speaks to what young people really care about. Mm-hmm. They don't care, like they aren't, when you're young and when you're 15, death isn't close to you, right? You're kind of invincible, you're young, and you're ready for life. And so what really matters to them is their social environment. And so that's something to really keep in mind when we're talking about prevention. And then 18.6% of them reported that they used them because it's available in many different flavors, such as mint, candy, and fruit and chocolate.
Is that the just it tastes good approach to things, I guess?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, totally. And then this is a traditional tobacco tactic, right? Because if somebody's isn't a cigarette smoker and you give them a pineapple flavored cigarette, one, it's less harsh on your throat, right? It tastes a little bit better than regular cigarettes. And then if it's a pineapple flavored, it seems a little bit safer too. So those are the two components of why the tobacco industry uses flavors and for young people, basically. Okay. And then 12.6% of them reported that they use it because they think it's less harmful than other tobacco products, which is also a really common misconception from the general public. So this is the most astounding data that we have right now. So e-cigarette use among youth in the United States increased substantially from 2017 to 2018. In 2017, it was 11.7% of U.S. high school students that used e-cigarettes, and in 2018, it increased to 20.8%. That's a 78% increase in 1 year, and we have never seen something increase like that so in such a short time period. And if I had to say the reason for this, it would specifically be that one product, which is the JUUL product. This product took over the market, the U.S. e-cigarette market, specifically with young people. And so if I had to attribute, if this is my, my opinion, but I would say the JUUL product really had a big influence on this increase. So the tobacco, like I mentioned before, the tobacco industry has literally wrote the playbook on targeting the young people. And so we've had a few national policies that have been put in place, like the Master Settlement Agreement, which is what the MSA is. Yes, that's what the MSA stands for. And so what that is the federal government took the four biggest tobacco companies to court and said, and took all their internal marketing documents and said, hey, why are so many young people using your product? Well, they've been targeting them through many different ways, like Joe Camel and flavors and cartoon characters and things like that. So basically, and then the Family Prevention Smoking Act, which passed in 2009, restricted flavors on cigarettes, right? So basically what's happening now with this new product, the tobacco industry has found a loophole around these policies that we put in place to keep kids safe, to protect them from the tobacco industry's manipulative marketing tactics. So I'll go to the next slide. And here's an example of what these products can look like. So on the, just so you know, this is E-juice. These are electronic nicotine delivery system cartridges that hold nicotine in them.
See, and I have absolutely no idea. So that's why this is,
exactly.
I guess I don't have any kids in this group right now, so just nothing. I've heard about this, haven't seen these at all.
Yes,
so.
It looks exactly like candy,
right.
Okay? So if I show this to a group of kids, they can tell me exactly which candy it is. The one on the far left is Sour Bright gummy worms, the one on the far right is Sour Patch Kids, and the one in the middle is Swedish Fish, right? So they're not even trying, it's not even just a flavor like blueberry, right? No, it's your favorite candy that you could have this, right? And you can't tell that this is a deadly product, right? And so the issue is that there is a lethal chemical in this product, and they make it look like candy. And then here's another example of how the tobacco industry targets kids. So every product that you see on this page right here is an e-cigarette. So the one on the left is the Puff It Stealth Inhaler, which is an e-cigarette that's made to look like an inhaler. In the middle, that's the O2 Vape Flip. So that looks like the new key fobs that you can click and it flips open and then you can collapse the key. And then on the top right, that is I forgot the name of that brand, but this is a hoodie. So the hoodie string of the hoodie is a vape, right? And on the bottom right, that is the Sworn. So there's nothing real particular about that, but it's just showing you that you could put different skins on it if you'd like to, kind of how you can customize your cell phone, right? So nobody would need to purchase these products if they were over the age of 18, right? Because clearly, if you're purchasing these products, you want to be stealthy about it. You want to hide it. So the tobacco industry created these products for young people to hide from their parents and to hide from teachers and to bring into school. There's no other reason why you would need to create an inhaler that looks like, an e-cigarette that looks like an inhaler. And then we'll move on to the JUUL product, which I mentioned before is the most popular product on the market. So the thing about the JUUL that really makes it stick out from the rest of them is its sleek look, right? So it looks like a USB flash drive, or sometimes kids will say the lead holders for a mechanical pencil too, because it's like the same size. And so the interesting thing about a JUUL is that these products will always contain nicotine. JUUL Labs will never create a product that doesn't have nicotine because they created it for smokers, supposedly. But they offer this product in a wide variety of flavors like Cool Mint, Creme Brulee, Fruit Medley, and then they have menthol and Virginia tobacco as well. So this product is kind of pricey. That whole so like you see on the thing, there's the JUUL itself, and then there's a charger that goes with it, and then you get 4 pods that goes with that. And so that's about $50, but you could easily find a coupon anywhere for $20 off, right? And specifically in our local convenience stores where a lot of children frequent. So these products, like I said, will always contain nicotine, and they originally gave it out at 5% strength, which is a lot because every other product on the market only has 3% strength. So they went above and beyond to provide a higher level of nicotine. The other thing that really stands out, the JUUL stands out from the rest, is the astronomical amount of nicotine that are in this product. One little pod, one JUUL pod is equivalent to 20 cigarettes in the amount of nicotine that is in this product. And we are finding that some kids are going through 2 pods a day. Right? Kids under the age of 18. And that's not even fathomable with people using traditional cigarettes, right? Because nobody has that much time to smoke 2 packs of cigarettes a day. So we're seeing addiction to nicotine happening a lot quicker because this product is so accessible. You can use it inside because whenever the air that dissipates, the vapor aerosol that dissipates from it, dissipates really quickly. It doesn't smell bad, and it's really easy to hide. And we know that 1 in 5 students between the ages of 12 and 17 have seen a JUUL used in their school. And so that's something that we're really, really worried about and fighting with right now, is how much this product is normalized within Kansas schools. So the FDA has taken a stance against JUUL now, and it's pretty much evolved a lot, and they are definitely under the microscope right now. So the tobacco industry last year asked JUUL to give them all of their internal marketing documents because so many young people were using their product, similar to what we had to do with the tobacco industry, right? And so JUUL, the FDA gave JUUL 60 days to come up with a plan to keep their product out of young people's hands. But asking JUUL or any tobacco industry giant to come up with a plan to keep their product out of young people's hands is like asking a fox how to guard a hen house. They aren't going to do it. They need young people to use their products. So no matter what they say, you can't say that this advertisement here wasn't targeted to young people, right? Like, this girl is so colorful and she does not look like somebody who needs to quit smoking, right? No. So the FDA is watching JUUL right now, and a lot of stuff is evolving from that. But we won't get in the weeds on that. Okay. But they are aware, and we are working on it. I'll skip over that one. So what can we do about this? What can we do about this specifically within schools? It's number one, what we know about tobacco prevention in general is that policy is most effective. And so we need to make sure that our young people are not exposed to this product. Not only can they be around it, but be exposed to secondhand smoke as well. So the best recommendation to keep this product out of Kansas schools is to pass a comprehensive tobacco-free policy, which prohibits all tobacco and tobacco-related products, which would be really important to name every product out that you could imagine, specifically expanding that definition around vaping and electronic nicotine delivery systems. And then to exclude it for everyone, students, employees, and visitors. So nobody can use this product ever. And everywhere, all buildings and grounds owned, leased, or rented by districts, including vehicles, because what we've been hearing a lot is that students are using these products on the buses as well. So we can be exclusive about that policy language is always good. And then all the time, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And then it's also important to provide information about cessation as well, because like I mentioned before, addiction is happening at a much more rapid rate than we've ever seen with young people. And so we need to think about addressing this as an addiction and not as something we can punish kids out of doing, right? So to keep that in mind, and that these children are up against addiction. So another thing that you can do to promote tobacco-free schools is to empower and educate the students, because students have such a pull with their peers, right? The most effective way to get educational information out is peer-to-peer education. So involving young people, updating your tobacco prevention curriculum to including vaping, because a lot of textbooks don't have vape information in there yet. And then also holding awareness days and kind of changing that social culture around the acceptability of vaping in your school, and getting the information out there that this isn't water vapor, this isn't safe, this is a tobacco product, and the tobacco industry is behind this. And then it's also important to educate staff and parents. Parents is another key part of this, because what we know is that young people are very much misinformed about this. They know about e-cigarettes, and they're very much misinformed about the health effects of it. But on the other hand, adults and teachers don't know. They don't understand how rampant this is around in Kansas schools and around the nation, and how much they're encountering these vaping in schools every day.
So the issue is young people are misinformed.
Yes.
Many adults, I'll put myself in that category, are largely uninformed.
Right, exactly, totally. So KDHE was able to do some data collection for Kansas schools. So this was in 2017, and we're currently working on updating that again. But what we found is that only 1 in 3 school districts in Kansas actually had a comprehensive tobacco-free policy. So that was pretty alarming. And one of the biggest gaps for being a comprehensive policy was allowing smoking, so having like smoking areas, and then not including vape as well. So those were the biggest gaps in those policies that schools don't have currently. But we are working on that, and we know that a few have passed in the past year due to our partnership with the Kansas Association of School Boards. So we ended up partnering with you guys on coming up with some more stronger language and recommendations for Kansas schools. And directly, this happened in December of 2018. And then as soon as those recommendations came out, we know of, for sure, 12 Northeast Kansas schools that just updated their policy, hands down, to be more comprehensive. So that was a huge win. So we know that we're making some advances, and we're going to continue that awesome partnership with you guys.
Okay.
So we also created a resource for Kansas schools. So I was like almost overwhelmed with all of the requests from local schools about guidance and what they can do, and just like a resource hub. So what we did is we created a Vape-Free Schools Toolkit, which was created unique to Kansas schools. So we actually designed it for student groups to utilize, specifically for our local resist chapters, to be able to look at this toolkit, take it to their school board, and get it approved, right? To get a comprehensive tobacco-free policy approved. It also contains a lot more of information and resources about youth cessation, adult cessation, communication strategies, free signage, as well as some educational materials that might be helpful to use as well. Oh, and here's just a few examples of what we have there. On the right, KDHE actually provides free signage to those who pass comprehensive policies. So all you have to do is go to our website, which you can just search KDHE Tobacco Use Prevention, and you can order free signs. Okay. And then we also have examples of different student posters. That's definitely something that schools have been requesting is, can we have some stuff to post up and let kids know that these things aren't safe, and then as well as the cessation information. And then here's the link to our toolkit. It's again on the same page that you would go to look for the signage. And we've actually added a lot more information on there, specifically targeted to Kansas schools. So it has more educational information. It actually has a webinar that I recorded that is for school administration to educate them about e-cigarettes and pretty much this information. So anybody could utilize that if they wanted to do a staff training or something along those lines. And then here's my information, and I am more than happy to share any of our resources, of our tools, share more information about our Resist program. I welcome anybody to reach out and ask questions.
Well, one thing that you didn't mention is looking at legislation.
Yes.
So what is the current state of the law at state, federal level? What's being considered, or in terms of regulations? Where are we right now, and what could happen over the next year?
Right. So something that's been a really hot topic with policy, and specifically with youth and access to tobacco products, is Tobacco 21, which, for those of you who don't know, is increasing the legal age from 18 to 21. And to date, since 2015, we've had 26 Kansas municipalities pass Tobacco 21. Specifically, Topeka actually went to the Supreme Court because they had an injunction put in place, and it ended up passing. So the Supreme Court gave their blessings, and that Kansas local municipalities can pass these policies locally. So that's really important, because the way that Kansas works, specifically with like legislation and passing policies, it's got to happen at the grassroots level, right? It has to take off there, and then will the state decide, okay, well, this is what the Kansas people want. So something else that's probably going to be happening this legislative session is a statewide bill for Tobacco 21. And then there's also, actually, federally, at the national level, there's about 5 bills that include Tobacco 21 right now. And I know that our partners at American Cancer Society and American Lung Association are supporting the Mitch McConnell bill, which they had some issues with before, but they ended up bargaining, and they have a bill which they're comfortable with. So if that makes it past all the right places, it could go onto the president's desk around December.
So does either current law or these proposed laws make distinctions between e-cigarettes and what?
Yes. So that is a hole in the legislation right now, in the Kansas legislation right now. So one that I can talk about in particular is the Clean Indoor Air Act, which outlaws tobacco use inside public places or within 10 feet of air intake areas. And so vaping is not included in that language. So that's something, that is a loophole that we need to address right now.
And I don't know if you can even explain, and maybe no one particularly cares, but why is it, remind us, going back to being, well, what's the distinction as to why vaping would not be considered?
That's because the Clean Indoor Air Act passed in 2010. And the FDA didn't recognize e-cigarettes as a tobacco product until 2015.
Okay.
So they're very behind.
So it's really just the language of the law doesn't recognize it, even though, in other words, a nicotine delivery system is not a cigarette and vice versa. Is that really definitionally what it comes
So
down
the
to?
FDA recognizes e-cigarettes, electronic nicotine delivery systems, as a tobacco product.
As a tobacco product.
Yes. Yeah, so that's happening at the federal level, although in Kansas law, I don't believe it has updated that yet. And that's something that we have specifically talked about in our vape task force that the commissioner appointed. The Attorney General's office is on there, and he very much called that out and said that's something we want to look at.
So let me maybe ask one other, raising the age that you can buy tobacco from 18 to 21, but obviously a lot of under 18 kids are accessing this.
Right.
Are there, obviously a higher age might help in that area,
Right, that's the thought.
I assume there continues to be issues. Kids find other ways to get there.
Right, totally. Yeah, just like alcohol, right? So if they want to find a way to get it, they certainly will try. But the biggest key component here is that 15-year-olds go to school with 18-year-olds. They don't go to school with 21-year-olds, right? So it just helps put that age gap into place. And then also speaking to the fact that 90% of lifelong smokers start smoking before the age of 18. Okay, and then like 99% start smoking before the age of 25. So it's kind of thinking that if we can prolong the amount of time that they can get their hands on one of these products, the possibility of them becoming a lifelong smoker goes down.
Okay, well, this is a wealth of information. Is there anything else? I think we've exhausted your slides. That you think is important to share.
I could put in a plug. So the Resist program, which is the program that I run, statewide youth-led tobacco prevention program, we're actually providing mini grants to local Resist chapters or youth-serving organizations specifically housed in schools. So these mini grants are competitive, up to $250 for youth groups to work on education, specifically educating staff, students, and parents, and then taking a look at their school policy and making sure that it's comprehensive. So all of that information can be found on our website, which is resisttobaccokansas.com, and also on our Facebook page as well.
Okay. One of the things I think was discussed at the last state board meeting about these groups was the question of, I'm trying to remember, one of the members said, do these need to be new separate groups, or can you work with, so you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, his question was, so he's got a really active DARE group that's at one of his local high schools, and he's like, do they have to be a separate group from the DARE group? No. If anything, we want you to just, it can be your local Resist DARE group if you want to. So all you need to be a Resist chapter is to have one adult sponsor and 2 youth who are interested in this. There's no real requirements to be a Resist chapter besides that you live in Kansas and then those other 2 things. And just to work on local education and prevention.
So the point is, if our local districts are because there are many things people are dealing with.
Right.
How do we deal with drugs? How do we deal
Right.
with bullying? So if you've got a group that is interested in sort of promoting these health and safety
Exactly.
issues, that can become your resist group.
Totally.
If it works, as long as they're willing to add that to their portfolio,
Yeah,
I guess is what it comes down to.
exactly.
Okay.
It's made to be super simple, and we're only there to help you.
Okay. Well, I think this has been fantastic.
Awesome.
Anything else you can think of?
I don't think so. I guess the one takeaway I would say that I want everyone to know, after every single tobacco prevention presentation, specifically about vape, is that everyone understands that vape is a tobacco product, and that this is the tobacco industry behind this whole epidemic.
So fundamentally, what you're seeing, what the research behind is, regardless of how this might be presented, if it's not as dangerous, it's not
Right.
whatever, there are real dangers, and
Yes.
it is growing tremendously
Exactly.
in popularity. And so we're going to have much more severe health consequences if we don't start taking stronger methods than we've done in the past.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, very good. Well, thank you so much. You through this have seen many ways you can get information and resources from Jordan and her agency. Of course, the State Department of Education is a partner in this area,
yes.
and anything we can do to help provide information to you, we will as well. Continue to look at your KASB publications and communications. We'll keep sharing information. Jordan, if there's anything else, if there's new information you want to come back and talk to us about, let us know.
I'll
We'd
do
love
it.
to have you. So thank you
Sounds
very
great.
much.
Thank
okay,
you.
thank you.